Welcome to the Eat This Book podcast. I'm Michael Whitworth. Each day we take a small piece of scripture and we sit with it. Not a quick snack that disappears before lunch, not a chore you check off of a list, but rather a meal meant to be savored. So pull up a chair. Let's eat. The famine reaches Canaan. Jacob's household is running out of food. The same drought that emptied Egypt's storehouses before Joseph filled them is now withering the promised land. The family that carries the covenant is starving like everyone else. Jacob hears there's grain in Egypt. "Why do you look at one another?" he says. "Go down and buy grain so that we may live and not die." 10 brothers saddle their donkeys and head south, but not Benjamin. Jacob keeps Rachel's youngest son at home. He's already lost Joseph. He won't risk losing Benjamin too. The old man doesn't know that the brother he's protecting Benjamin from is the brother who will save them all. The 10 arrive in Egypt and are directed to the governor who sells grain to all the people of the land. They come before him. They bow down with their faces to the earth. I want you to stop there and let that image settle. 20 years ago, a 17-year-old boy told his brothers about a dream. Sheaves of grain standing in a field, his sheaf rising, their sheaves gathering around and bowing down. The brothers hated him for it. They threw him in a pit, sold him to traders, told their father he was dead. And now they're bowing, faces to the ground, before the governor of Egypt. The dream has come true, and they have no idea. Joseph recognizes them immediately. How could he not? These are the faces he grew up with, the voices he heard for 17 years. They're older now, weathered by 2 decades, but unmistakable. They don't recognize him. Why would they? The boy they sold is gone. In his place stands an Egyptian official, shaved, dressed in linen, wearing gold, speaking through an interpreter. The pit and the palace are too far apart for their minds to bridge. He speaks harshly. He accuses them of being spies. It's not true, and Joseph knows it, but he's testing them, probing, trying to discover what kind of men they've become. Have they changed? Do they feel remorse? Would they do it again? The brothers protest. "We are honest men. 12 brothers, sons of one man. The youngest is with our father, and one is no more." One is no more. That's how they describe Joseph. Not, "we sold him," or "we betrayed him." Just, "one is no more." A passive erasure, as if he simply vanished. Joseph hears the lie beneath the truth. He sees how they've told themselves this story for 20 years. He imprisons them for 3 days. 3 days to feel what Joseph felt. Accused, confined, helpless. A small taste of the years he spent in darkness because of them. On the 3rd day, Joseph makes an offer. 1 brother stays as hostage. The rest take grain to Canaan, but they must return with Benjamin to prove that they're telling the truth. "Do this and you will live. I fear God." He does fear God. Everything he's doing, the harsh words, the accusations, the testing, is filtered through his awareness that God is watching. He's not pursuing revenge, he's seeking truth. The brothers turn to one another and say what they've apparently never said aloud. "We're guilty concerning our brother. We saw the distress of his soul when he begged us, and we did not listen. That is why this distress has come upon us." They remember. They remember his face. They remember his begging. They remember ignoring his cries while they sat down to eat. 20 years later, the guilt surfaces. Standing in an Egyptian prison, they finally connect the dots. This is happening because of what we did. What they don't know is that Joseph understands every word. They don't know he's turned away because he's weeping. Joseph composes himself. He binds Simeon before their eyes, maybe because Simeon was the cruelest, maybe because Reuben had tried to save Joseph. For whatever reason, Simeon stays, and the others leave with grain. But Joseph does something else. He orders his servants to put each man's money back in his sack, hidden among the grain. On the way home, one brother opens his sack. The money is there. His heart fails him. He turns to his brothers, trembling, and they're terrified. What is this that God has done to us? Is this a trap? Will they be accused of theft? The gift feels more like a curse. They're sensing that something larger is happening, something beyond Egyptian politics and grain distribution. God is doing something, and they don't know what. They return to Jacob and tell him everything. The harsh governor, the accusation of spying, Simeon held hostage, the demand to bring Benjamin, and then they empty their sacks. Every man's money is there. Jacob is undone. You had bereaved me of my children. Joseph is no more, Simeon is no more, and now you would take Benjamin. Reuben offers a terrible bargain. Kill my 2 sons if I don't bring Benjamin back, but Jacob's grandsons as collateral for his son? That math doesn't work. Jacob refuses. My son shall not go down with you. If harm comes to him, you would bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to Sheol. Benjamin stays, the famine continues, and Simeon waits in Egypt. And Joseph waits too, wondering if they'll come back, wondering what kind of men his brothers have become. Here's what I think we should savor from this passage. First, dreams fulfilled don't always feel like victory. Joseph watched his brothers bow, just as he'd dreamed, but he wept behind a turned face, listening to them confess guilt they didn't know he could hear. Second, guilt has a long memory. 20 years, and the brothers still remembered Joseph's face when he begged them. Some sins don't fade with time, they wait. And third, some tests require time. Joseph didn't reveal himself, not yet. He needed to know if they'd changed. Would they abandon Benjamin the way they abandoned him? The answer would take another trip to discover. If you've waited for vindication and found it bittersweet, if the moment arrived and brought tears instead of triumph, this passage says that's how it is sometimes. Joseph's brothers bowed, Joseph wept. Both things were true. If you're in the middle of something you don't understand, if God seems to be doing something and you can't figure out what, this passage says wait. The brothers didn't understand the harsh Egyptian or the money in their sacks, but understanding wasn't required, only the next steps. Next time on Eat This Book, the brothers return to Egypt, with Benjamin this time, and what begins with fear turns into an unexpected meal. But something deeper is happening beneath the surface. Join me in Genesis 43 as old patterns are tested, hearts begin to change, and Joseph watches closely. Thanks for eating with me. Until next time, may the Word dwell in you richly.